Welcome back to the Fenway Focus. My name is Jason. I'm here with Derek. It's our first episode post All Star game and break, so we have a lot to talk about as the Red Sox had a not so great field trip. I almost said road trip. It felt like a field trip, but um, yeah, the Sox lost a lot of games and they won just one. They got swept by the Dodgers, lost 2 out of 3 to the Rockies out of all teams. Got embarrassed in the third game, but we're here to break it down and more. Derek, how you doing?
Doing good. Considering the circumstances of half of Red Sox social media losing their mind, um, I think this episode is appropriately titled. We'll get into it a little bit later, but there's a lot of calming down that needs to be done between the Red Sox fans, and just everyone in general, Reese McGuire included, to say the least.
Yes, shout out to Reese McGuire and Cal Quantrill for complimenting each other.
Yeah, that's what we'll say.
But I'll start off with you, Derek. Let's first recap the Dodgers series. Tough game. Two very winnable games. One of them went to extra innings, and one of them, Freddie Freeman just went Freddie Freeman. What's your main takeaway from that series? And does this kind of stretch scare you?
I wouldn't say it scares me. It sucks a little bit. Uh, a, a little bit. That scares me. Makes me a little bit, maybe a tiny bit more concerned than I was. But every team's gonna go on a bad stretch, and you look at who the Red Sox play. They play the Dodgers, who are, when healthy, if their roster's fully healthy, on paper they have the best team in baseball. I know they're not fully healthy; they're very far away from it, but they're still a really good team. There's a reason they have the record they do, even with all the injuries they have. Uh, and every single game you look at, and you go, oh, the Red Sox definitely could have won that game. Like game one, they absolutely could have won. Well, maybe not the third game of that series, but. Uh, the first two games they definitely could have won. Uh, so I think it just came down to missed opportunities, and then not having a timely um, not having timely pitching in terms of the bullpen, which we know we're obviously without Justin Slayton and Chris Martin, and I think that makes a big difference there, not having
Mm-hmm.
both of them. But at the same time, but I think it also showed the Red Sox that, hey, you need more pitching, and I think every good team will tell you can never have enough good pitching, and I think that's where the Red Sox are. You
Yeah.
cannot have enough good pitching, and especially with Chris Martin out, with Justin Slayton out, although they will hopefully both be coming back soon. Hopefully, you look at that and you go, yeah, they definitely could use more bullpen arms because Greg Weitzer, as of right now, is not cutting it right. Bailey Horn has been solid, but even then, is he really a big league guy? Probably not. Boozer is probably best as like a depth AAA guy who can have good, solid appearances when called up, but shouldn't really be anywhere near high leverage. Winkowski, more of a kind of starter, swingman, long reliever, AAA starter, ready to come up to make a spot start in the big leagues. Bernardino should not be, arguably your second best reliever in a bullpen. As much as we love Bernardino, like he'll excel most in a middle relief role, right? And that's where he should be, not basically being a setup man or close to the back. And even Zach Kelly in the same sense, right? The Red Sox can use relievers, and obviously they didn't get the Brian Mata situation happen. That's a whole. We're not going to get into that because that's a whole thing, right? But they and Brian Mata doesn't necessarily solve the problems. We don't know how good or bad he would have been, right? But they need relievers, especially. They also could use a starter, but I think the most pressing need right now is just building more depth in the bullpen because as of right now, Liam Hendricks will be coming back, but you cannot bank on a guy coming back from Tommy John surgery, especially at 35 years old, being back to what he was when he was one of the better closers in baseball. You cannot bank on that. So I think when you look at the Red Sox, the Dodgers series kind of showed, okay, what do you need to be better at? You need to be better at being at timely hitting and having those relievers who can come out of the pen and pitch shutout innings when the top guys aren't necessarily available. Especially when we get late in the year and there's going to be these longer stretches of games without off days. They need to be able to, okay, Chris Martin can't pitch today. Slayton, we probably don't want to use him. If we do, no more than an inning, right? You need those other guys to step up, especially if the starter only goes 5, right? Um, they need these guys to step up in the bullpen. So I think it kind of showed where the Red Sox need to improve. Not a bad series in terms of, yeah, you got swept, but that was in terms of like how it looked, it wasn't like the worst series. It just feels bad because there were definitely winnable games. But I think the Red Sox were competitive throughout the series, and I think that's the big thing.
Exactly, and you kind of mentioned it. My motto is always you can never have too much pitching, no matter like what the circumstance. We saw literally in game 1 and 2, you put Justin Slayton in instead of Brendan Bernardino. I don't think Freeman hits the home run. I know Freeman's a lefty, but still. Or you put Chris Martin there. Or I understand too. In extra innings, you don't put in Greg Weiser, you put in Justin Slayton to close out the game. Another high leverage arm. Looking on the 40-man roster, they have some guys they can move. They have some depth, but it's just not great. It's depth. That's literally what it is. Your minor league depth is okay. It's not great. You have Wingenter, Spass, and Brad Keller. That's really it. Those are easy DFAs. If/when the Sox will add, I still think in the bottom of my heart they're going to add some pieces. Like you said, it just feels worse because a lot of the games the Sox lost in this road trip, even adding into the Colorado series, they were winnable. Like Kike Hernandez, like who the hell would have freaking predicted he hits a home run there? Unless Kenley's bluffing or blowing it on purpose because he wants to stay in LA, which is definitely possible, but whatever. And then there's the Freeman game, then there's the extra inning game where they had Zach Kelly was not a bad option. It's just freaking what's his face? Sam Hillard hit a freaking 450 moonshot, but still winnable games. I don't take that much stock. I think you said it concerns you a little bit. For me, it's like starting to ask questions like, okay, dang, like it's kind of like you got your license and you're on the road showing like your family you can do it, and then you get into like a close call. I feel like it's like I understand, like, but I know I can drive. Like I know this person can drive, but like maybe it's just a hiccup. Like new drivers are gonna have hiccups here and there. They need more experience. They just need to go through. That's such a bad analogy, but I just think if the New York series goes poorly, then I'll be concerned. This road trip Sox haven't done well against the Dodgers. They haven't done well against the Rockies. They lost last year too. Lost the series at Fenway last year. I don't know. I'm just ranting. It's a frustrating series, but I still think the Sox are going to add. Just it makes so much sense.
Well, also too, this Red Sox team is built to be a team that if they get hot in the playoffs, they're going to be obnoxious to play against, especially if you don't have a good catcher behind the plate. Like a good catcher can throw guys out. They're going to be an obnoxious team if they are on and they get into the playoffs. Also, do we think Kenley went back to Boston or stayed in LA during the Colorado series?
Stayed in LA.
I think he probably did too.
No. I take that back. Went to Boston.
I wouldn't be shocked. Honestly, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. He might, or he could have gone to Fort Myers. Honestly, he might have gone to that's also another option. Could have gone to Fort
Jansen?
Myers. Yeah, because what is he gonna do in Boston? No one's there.
Throw a bullpen.
No one's there.
Do we go into Worcester and throw?
Yeah, he'd probably
Go
be more
somewhere
likely
and
to.
throw.
That's what I was saying though. He'd probably be more likely to go to Fort Myers if
I
they're
don't
gonna
know
say.
if he'd fly a lot because of the altitude thing.
They
But
fly what?
I don't know. It does. I don't think
But
it
it's
matters
like
that much.
flying to a city. It's like if they were playing in Texas instead of Colorado, he would have flown there. You know.
I don't think it matters. But
But I just know. I just it was. I just found it a little interesting. Now
and
where
the
would he
other thing
go?
is
Not
like
like it's
you.
not a bad thing either way. Even if he stayed in L.A., he's probably got a house there. It's not a big
Yeah,
deal.
yeah. He's been there since the All Star break. It's like let him get some time. So here's how I view it too, or how I view the whole bullpen situation too. Your bullpen was gassed after 3 games. That's what happens when you have a lack of quality arms. You need some people to eat innings. And that happens because you blow it. Oh, now you're going extras. Now I need more guys. Now everyone's pointing at each other and saying, who's next? Like a lot of guys, almost every guy but Bernardino was used in the Colorado game, in the first Colorado game when they lost in extras. Everyone's tired. This was a much needed off day, but it's crazy. I just want to point that out. That's why the Sox. I think I might have said last episode that the Sox' biggest priority is a right-handed bat. I'm changing it. They got to get a relief pitcher, one or two. At one that can pitch in high leverage. Is that a closer? Not necessarily, but someone who can pitch in high leverage. That shouldn't cost that much, especially if a guy's on a rental. Then, like, sure, see what you can do. I think that's the biggest. That's the biggest need for the Red Sox right now.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't necessarily. It doesn't have to 100% be a rental. It could be a guy who's maybe got another year left after this year, right? But they're definitely they do need to make moves. Um, Dude, I still think they need a shortstop, and I think you'd agree with me on that. In terms of they need someone who can play shortstop that's not named Cedon Rafaela because that's better than Romy Gonzalez. Because let's be honest, as decent as Romy's been, and that's not, And I think you lose some value with Rafaela playing him at short instead of center field. Not because he's bad at short, but because he's so insane in center field. I know he had a couple of plays in the Rocky series that maybe looked rough, but like I think with Rafaela, the balls that he gets to, sometimes he makes them look easy. Or I think there was the one that was like over the shoulder, and I look at that ball and I went like, I don't know how many people are even getting a glove to that ball, right? Like,
Oh
and
yeah,
I
that
think
that was
that's the thing, right? Um, he's almost so good where the insane plays that he almost makes, he makes them look like routine almost, and it looks like he almost dropped a routine fly ball when it was really an insane play just to even get close to it. Like I remember we talked about this during that Rays series at Fenway earlier this year that me and you were at, in the play in center field where it ended up being a triple, but it was in the liner in the right center gap, and he dove and he got his glove on it and like knocked it down. But like the fact that he even got to it was like, what the hell is like? How did he do that? Right? I
yeah.
think that was the thing with it. It was like it's like sometimes he's so good in center field. It doesn't, if you just kind of see it on like TV and it's a fly ball, right? And you don't see the jump he gets, you don't see the initial route he takes. It doesn't look as impressive, but when you're there in person, and I know you can see that, but like when you're there in person and he has an insane play like that he makes, or even just almost makes but doesn't quite get there, right? You look at it and go, "Holy hell, how did he do that?" Right? And I think that's kind of it. Um, and
Yeah.
we'll talk too about this Rocky series that they had, and the Rockies. I know Euclid was talking about it like nonstop to the point where it got a little annoying, but like I kind of agree with them though. I don't think the Rockies are as bad as their record says they are. Obviously their pitching has been atrocious this year, but they have good bats, right? And I think that's the
Yeah.
thing.
And you know what's crazy out of all this in like I know it's the Colorado Rockies, you should win, but imagine if the Red Sox won some of the games they lost, like give me two of those games,
Yeah.
then you're 2.5 games out of the division. Right now the Sox are 4.5 games, believe it or not.
No, 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 no. They're
No,
aren't
they're
they?
4.5 games out of the division right
Are
now.
No, I thought they were
Yes.
6.5.
No, they're 4.5. The Orioles lost.
No, the Orioles did not lose today.
They lost yesterday.
Yeah, no, they're 6.5.
They're 6.5. What the fuck?
Orioles won today.
They won today.
They're 4.5 behind the Yankees.
Hold on a minute.
They're 4.5 behind the Yankees. They're 6.5 behind They're they're 6.5 behind Baltimore.
Yeah, okay, 6.5. I don't know what the hell ESPN was telling me. They're one game out of a wild card spot.
Yeah, they would be if they win two of the games they lost. Instead of being one game out, they'd be one game up on the Royals, and they'd be tied with Minnesota. So Minnesota,
Minnesota.
that clip is gonna live in my head forever, rent free.
Yeah, and then also losing 20-7 to a team that had a negative 150 plus run differential, like not ideal. But at the same, hey, it's the Rockies. It's the Rockies.
And they're off. I felt this way.
And that's not even the worst run differential.
Well, no. Well, I think Ezekiel Tovar is going to be like a star in the making. Great defensive shortstop, and the bat has kind of started to come around for him.
And he got paid.
Yeah, yeah, he got and Brenton Doyle, who's an elite defensive center fielder, up there.
Ryan
like,
McMahon,
up,
Charlie Blackman,
and like
some of those guys have pop.
Dude, Blackman, yeah, I know he's more of a veteran now, but Ryan McMahon, elite defender whose bat is solid. Chris Bryant's been kind of crappy this year, but Brendan Rodgers, very solid. Not amazing, but solid, right? Like Jake Caves had a decent year for them in terms of in limited plate appearances. Michael Toglia has 16 homers for them, right? Like their catching duo of Elias Diaz and Jacob Stallings has been solid, right? They're not like a bad offensive team. I think their pitching is just so bad. Cal Quantrill has a 4.09 ERA. And then Kyle Freeland's at 5.63. Feltner's at 5.19. Gonver's down to 4.70, but like Ty Black has a 6.13 ERA. I know their pitching is terrible. They got one guy in their bullpen with a sub 4 ERA, and it's Victor Vodnik, and he has a 3.98 ERA. You know, like the Rockies' struggles come to the pitching. You look at the Red Sox, like yeah, they lost 20-7. They still scored 7 runs. Most of the time, when you score 7 runs, you're gonna win. It just so happens the Red Sox somehow gave up 20.
If you score 7 plus runs, I think you should win. Like
yeah, and you look at the
game.
series, right? In a 3-game series, the Red Sox scored 8 and 6 and 7 in the 3 games. So they scored 21 runs. If you go into a series against the Colorado Rockies and you told people the Red Sox were going to score 21 runs in those series and score 8, 6, and 7 runs in the 3 games, most people would have told you they would have swept the Rockies, right?
Yeah,
And I think that's the mistake. The offense wasn't a problem in the Rockies series, kind of like it was at times in the Dodgers series. Where it was a problem was the pitching in games 1 and 3. Like, and it was mostly the bullpen. I mean, well, not that Nick Pivetta had a good start, but Nick Pivetta's pitched terrible in cores in general. We'll get to that, but I think he given up like 14 runs in like 7 innings in his 2 prior appearances there. So it's not like Pivetta was bound for success there. Houck didn't have the greatest outing, but still 6 innings, 4 runs, like that's solid. But then when Kowski gave up a run, Sat Kelly gave up 2 runs in the 10th, and then Bailey Horn gave up 2 runs in the 12th.
Bailey Horn.
Yeah, but like Bailey Horn's pitching the 12th. You know what I mean? Like that's rough, right? And then obviously the 20-7 game. I mean, they just got absolutely crap. Pivetta gave up 7 runs, 8 earned, but then like Bailey Horn comes in and then also gave up 5 earned. You know what I mean? Like the thing is, Pivetta gives up like 7 earned, like 8 total. The Red Sox still kind of have a chance if Bailey Horn doesn't give up 5 runs by the time the 4th inning is done. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I'm at with that game. Because then you don't necessarily get Chase Anderson coming in at that point where he gives up 6. I know only 1 was earned, but still. And then Bernardino, yeah, he gave a run. But, like, the Red Sox ended up scoring 7. I know Pavetta gave up 8, but like they kind of somewhat have a little bit more of a chance if Bailey Horn doesn't get absolutely crapped on in the 4th inning, right? I, they still probably lose that game. Don't get me wrong, but it's a point to make, right? If Bailey Horn doesn't get absolutely crapped on, and the Rockies don't have 13 runs in the first 4 innings, it's a totally different game. You're muted, Jason.
I am sorry. If 2 moves were made, oh my god, I'm pissed off. I thought I pressed the button too. If 2 of the moves were made, 2 different moves were made, you could see the Sox winning 2 games. Just saying. But
Yeah.
it's a rough stretch, I think. And we're 20 minutes into this episode right now. I mean, we can vent forever on like, oh, they missed a chance here. They can miss a chance there, but you got to move on. I think that's the bottom line. We we told you so. I think we told you so. Last episode, which we'll get into later. You gotta. I don't want to say take this with a grain of salt, but at the same time, it's like relax. Don't don't take this the wrong way. I mean, like, oh, the Sox now suck. They're still very much in it. They could win 5 their next 6 and be totally fine. People panicking, think it's premature. If they lose against the Yankees, then you start. I think then you start to ask questions. Is that fair? Or no?
Yeah,
You
I
think
think
that's fair?
so. Yeah.
I think that's fair because they have the Yankees, then they have the Mariners, then you have the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, the trade deadline is going to indicate what the heck the future is with this team, but the Mariners are a good team to go up against, and it's a good indication on like, okay, this is a team that you're probably going to play round 1 if you do make those playoffs in Seattle. How are you going to do? Simple as that. Mariners have their own flaws right now. But I mean, they're one that they're in a tight division race. They're probably going to look to add big at the deadline. But as for, I think this is a good time to segue to trade deadline stuff. What the
Yep.
Sox should do, kind of about what the deadline's in 5 days. Let's say the 25th. Yeah, 5 days.
Yeah, 5 days.
5 days. Less than a week. We'll know the market. We're starting to hear a lot of rumors on what teams are interested in what player. There are a lot of big fish. But it's another year because of the 3rd wild card. It's going to be probably more of a seller's market. The standings, thanks to the stupid NL wild card race, where you have literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams playing for 3 spots, realistically. I counted the Giants because they're only 5.5 back. Anything can happen. You could even make an argument the Nationals. They're only 7 back, but 7's a lot, I think. But you never know. It's baseball. That's the beauty of it. Heck, the Diamondbacks. Look at the Diamondbacks. Or not the Diamondbacks, the Rockies. The Rockies in 07, the Miracle Run. Anything can happen. So I don't think it's going to be a seller's market. Even if there are 2 wild cards now that I look at it, it would still be a tough race. AL's much different, but are there definitive sellers? Yes. The Chicago White Sox hold probably the biggest 2 pieces in Crochet and Robert, but I think the Sox won't do that. But I don't know, Derek. I'll hand it off to you. Just chime in. Like, what are your thoughts? What are you thinking?
I mean, kind of like I said, they need pitching. They need pitching. And there's only a few places where they're really going to be able to get it from. I don't necessarily know if that's an individual. They could trade in division, but it's always less likely. The White Sox don't really have a lot to offer in terms. Also, too, the White Sox can't trade. It's kind of tough to trade with them because they always ask for an arm and a leg for literally everything. So that's a little bit tough. The A's are similar. Like, what do the A's have that the Red Sox are really going to need, right? The Angels and Rangers are interesting. It seems like the Rangers are going to sell on rentals. And the Angels, I mean, no one knows the Angels, right? They're the Angels, right? But Carlos Estevez is on an expiring deal. So he could be an option. He's got 2.38 ERA this year. He's got 20 saves in that Angels bullpen. He's kind of been a key part for them, a key piece for them this year in terms of he's been very good. If you go to the Rangers, Kirby Yates, 122 ERA this year, kind of at his best, back to his best, maybe even better than he was. Um, David Roberts has got a 3.16 ERA. I know Jose Leclerc's 3.80 ERA isn't the prettiest, but like last year he was very solid for the Rangers, especially in the postseason. Um, and this year his FIP is about what it was last year, and his Sierra is a lot better than it was last year. So the ERA maybe is bound to come down a little bit for him. So those are three options there that could be interesting. Obviously, there's been rumors about them trading Eovaldi. I think the Red Sox have burnt that bridge. Honestly, if I'm going to be honest, I think that bridge is kind of burnt on the Red Sox perspective. From a Red Sox perspective, um, but I don't think Eovaldi can't really say no. So there's that. But I don't know if the Red Sox would
He
want
has
to
a
do
no
that.
trade clause though.
Oh, he does. And well,
Yeah,
I don't know if he would say yes to that. But even
I'm
then,
pretty
I
sure
don't
he
know.
does.
I don't know if the Red Sox would want to do that anyways, though. Like I said, I think they kind of burnt that bridge. Um, the Rockies don't really have anything for the Red Sox. The
No.
Giants, yeah, they could trade like Taylor Rogers. He's at a 2.27 ERA. I mean, Tyler Rogers even maybe, but I don't know. But
There's no. No. There's no trade clause. I thought there was for whatever reason.
yeah. But like, so the Giants maybe, but I don't know how willing they are to just sell. And then you kind of get to the NL Central and like the Cubs. When you look at the Cubs, it's like okay, it's like what do they have in the bullpen? That's like like I need that. I really like what they don't really. The Cubs don't have relievers where you're looking at and go like, oh, I need that guy on my team. Um, like Hector Neris has been all right this year, but I don't know if he. I don't think that's the move. That would be the move to
The
make.
Cubs might not even sell. They're in the weird
May,
spot they were last year.
yeah, the Reds seem like they're gonna sell, but like they're kind of. I mean, who's the guy you're
There's
really
no
gonna
one good, really,
get from the
because like
Reds?
I think they said they're open to trading guys on expiring deals.
Yeah,
I couldn't name one guy who's on an expiring deal.
for the yeah, and then like now the NL East gets interesting. The Marlins are definitely sellers, right? And they have Tanner Scott, who is probably the best lefty reliever in baseball, or is up there. They also have Andrew Nardi, who does have a lot of control left. I know he's got a 5.03 ERA this year, has not been great, but he hasn't been great in terms of ERA, but a 3.12 FIP, 2.75 Sierra. He's kind of been like the Aaron Bummer of this year. I don't know. I talked about this last year a lot with you, Jason, and how in this offseason how Bummer would be a great acquisition. I know Bummer last year had like a 7 ERA, and people were like, it's like, why would you want the guy who has a 7 ERA? But like, he had like 2 or 3 blow up outings, and then like the rest of the year was solid, right? And that kind of so it killed his ERA. And this year, Bummer's got a 3.31 ERA, so with the Braves, right? But
Braves gave
that
up a lot too for him. So
they did.
but yeah,
And
go
then
ahead.
Washington's the real, but Washington's kind of the real option. They already traded Hunter Harvey. Um, but they have Kyle Finnegan, who's got a 2.32 ERA this year. They have Dylan Floro, whose ERA is now under 2. He's got a 1.98 ERA. He's also already pitched 50 innings this year, which is kind of crazy.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yes, he's already pitched 50 innings,
How many
Dylan
games?
Floro. Dylan Floro has
That's incredible.
appeared in 49 games already
Oh
this
my
year.
god.
Yeah.
What?
Finnegan's at 42 and 2/3 innings. They
And
also
here's the other thing too. So you saw the Brewers. Yelich is gone. Yelich is down
yep.
for the foreseeable future. They're going to be, I think, inclined to buy a little bit more. This is just in general, and I think more so the Cardinals. Cardinals are a half a game back of the third wild card. You take away Yelich from that Brewers team, which, by the way, is incredible this year, considering what they lost and what injuries they have. I think St. Louis is going to be more inclined to buy. That's the other thing.
Yeah. Well,
So,
St. Louis is right
also
in the
St. Louis,
thick
they're
of.
weird as hell.
Well, yeah, St. Louis. It's like they're weird because like you look at their pitch, like look at their rotation. Outside of Palante, it's just like all like old guys. Sonny Gray's 34. Miles Michaelis is 35. Lance Lynn's 37. Kyle Gibson's 36. Um, and then even in like their bullpen, they have Helsley, who's been amazing this year. He's already got 33 saves, which is insane.
Yeah.
That kind
Yeah.
of tells you how many.
Helsley's crazy.
That tells you how many close games they've played this year, though. The Cardinals. The fact that he's got 33 saves.
They built a whole new rotation, and here they are.
But like, you have Helsley for like, it's like Helsley's 30. Andrew Kitteridge is 34, right? In their bullpen, he's been a big piece. Unfortunately for Red Sox fans, they have Ryan Fernandez, who they claimed in the Rule 5 draft from the Red Sox, and he's been great for them. He's got a 2.14 ERA this year for the Cardinals. He's been amazing for them. Kind of the forgotten man in the Cardinals bullpen, Giovanni Gallegos. He has a 6.63 ERA this year. He's been
once
bad
a high leverage guy. I think he got an extension couple off seasons ago.
Well, he got a 2-year extension, which ends this year. He has a club option for next year. I don't see that being taken because I think it's like, I don't know how much it is, but it's a $2 million. It's a club option for next year. I don't know how much it is. But he's at a 6.63 ERA this year and a 7.04 FIP. He's been bad this year. Last year he had a 4.42 ERA, but you look at the years before: 2018, 2.31 ERA. 2020, 3.69. 2021, 3.02. 2022, 3.05 ERA. Right, and every year he had a FIP under 3, except for 2019 where it was 3.05. Right, so that 4-year stretch, Gallegos was very good for the Cardinals. So his drop off's kind of weird. I wonder if not the Red Sox necessarily, but I wonder if there's a team who maybe tries to take a flyer on him. Not that the Cardinals would necessarily sell him, but like I always wonder, he hasn't been good for the Cardinals. If the Cardinals go and add bullpen pieces, would he be on the fringe of not being on the roster? And then maybe they move him off. You know what I mean? And they move him somewhere else, a team that's fringe playoff wants to buy. That kind of thing.
They can always take flyers on guys. I mean, look at last year. They got Mauricio Llovera. It's the only guy they got.
That doesn't count. It's not the same. Llovera did not have a track record.
Mauricio Llovera.
At least Giovanni Gallegos has a track record.
Yeah, he's a guy you can obviously buy low on. He can be a rental. You can experiment with. But I think even with that considered, they still got to get a guy who can, like, he can give you, what you're getting out of him. Not like, we think we can get this out of him. No, I want a guy who, right off the bat, no pun intended, you're getting like decent,
legit guy who can be a setup man.
Yeah, or like most
or
likely,
close
like
to it.
Everything's like trending. Not like some like, oh, this guy sucks. Let's take a flyer on him. Don't get me wrong, I'm not opposed to it, but they need to bring that guy.
They need need those guys who are proven and are having good years.
They need the guy who's proven. Yes.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with taking a flyer on a Giovanni Gallegos.
Look at Dom Smith. That's the exact reason you should take flyers on people.
There's no, for the Red Sox, if they take a flyer on Gallegos, I don't have an issue with it, but he cannot be the only move. They need to go get a Dylan Flora or a Kirby Yates or someone like that, or even if it's not those guys, right? Or Kyle Finnegan. Even if it's not those guys, though, get a reliever, right? Like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be those guys, but those are Tanner Scott, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be that group of guys, but go get someone who's at least been solid this year, who even at worst, if not a setup man, can be slot in right behind Slayton and Martin. At worst, right?
Yeah, and the other thing is, they're getting Liam Hendricks back, allegedly. Can't bank on that. He's coming back from an injury. You don't know. And even, he hasn't really pitched really well since 22.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put too much into 2023 with it. He also hasn't pitched
Or is it
much.
2021?
Or it was 20.
Whatever,
But
whatever,
you
whatever.
can't really put much into it though, because with all the stuff that he had going on and with cancer and whatnot. I mean, in 21 he had a 2.54 ERA. In 2022 he had a 2.81 ERA. Last year he had a 5.40 ERA. He only pitched in 5 games though. He threw 5 innings. Right. You can't really take much into that when he threw 5 innings. So the last that we've seen of Liam Hendricks like actually like pitching and like not just 5 innings, right? He was really good. You can't bank on that, but I don't think Liam Hendricks is going to be a 5 ERA like he was last year when he only threw 5 innings, right? And if you want to like if you want to be serious about those 5 innings, like if you're let's be serious about those 5 innings. Uh, two of those runs came in his first appearance, right? Two of them came in his first appearance.
He
His
needed
next,
Tommy John after.
yeah, yeah, and he
Like
needed
he
Tommy
wasn't
John.
right.
Yeah, and it's well, also like I said, two of those came in his first appearance, which is, probably very emotional considering, and gives up 2 runs in his first appearance, and then his next 4 appearances, you only give it 1 run between the four, and then had to get Tommy John, right? So you can't put any emphasis on those 5 appearances from last year. I'm not saying Liam Hendricks is gonna be what he was, but let's not act like they're like he's a scrub either.
He's like, okay. He's like, okay, cool. Here's a guy.
Here's a
You
guy.
know,
No, I wouldn't say that. Here's a guy. If he's ready to go and he's at his best, he is exactly what the team needs. But let's not bank on him being that. Let's bank on him maybe being a middle reliever, right, and working his way into the kind of setup role that we know he can be when he's at his best. Because he's not going to close for this team with Kenley. I don't think they're going to move Kenley out of the closer spot.
no, no, not this year. Next year's a whole nother story. I'm not talking about that though. But
Yeah.
long story short, they need someone
Yep.
solidified. We like someone is going to get like yeah. We said it all. And then bat wise, I think me and you both agree IKF is probably the most ideal fit. Even though he's on the IL, you're gonna get him. You'll get him cheaper. Hits really well against lefties. You can put him on at the top of the lineup. Heck, you can even lead him off if you want, or slot him second, whatever. Definitely a guy worth considering. I know it's division, but like Blue Jays stink. Why? Who's to say they wouldn't move a guy like him? I know he has another year on his deal, but I think that makes sense. I know the Sox have been tied to Luis Rengifo, which I'm not
I don't think
that.
the Angels trade him either.
Yeah, that too. But I'm not inclined. I'm not like, oh, go get him. Like his defense sucks. Like he's in the third percentile and now it's above average. Like he just cannot play defense. Something that and the Red Sox, I believe, lead the league in errors now, something like that, because of their atrocious performance last night or yesterday, whatever. But yeah, so we're running out of time. So, stat of the week and news and notes. News and notes. I'll go first. So, news and notes. Yeah, we told you so. I alluded to this before. Last episode, we said this team is going to inevitably hit a low point, and this is probably the low point. It's all about how they react when they come back to Fenway and play a familiar foe. They don't play the Dodgers that much. I know they're playing more with the adjusted schedule. What's the term? Balanced schedule. There we go.
Yeah,
They played
balance.
more.
I forgot what the term was for a second too.
Yeah. They play more of the balanced schedule, but like they still don't play them like twice a year, or divisional opponent in like 4 series a year. So they're gonna have a familiar foe. Yankees is a big series because if you get swept, yeah, it's not a great look. But it's all about how they react after this losing stretch. If they go out and win 3 out of 4, cool. Or 2 out of 3, cool. If they go 6 of 7, that's even better. But if they lose 6 of 7, then you start, like I said a million times this episode, then you start to ask questions. Derek, news and notes, your turn.
All right, so my kind of just note is that the Red Sox right now have a just over 36% chance to make the playoffs per Fangraphs. I know that was up around like 40%, 50%, even like entering the All Star break. But Red Sox are only a game behind the Royals. They're only 2 games behind the Twins. And especially the Twins, they've kind of fallen, I don't want to say back, but like they were more than just 2 games ahead of the Red Sox. It feels like so. It feels like it feels like the Red Sox are kind of closing the gap to the Twins, and also they're at the point they won the series against the Royals. They definitely have a shot. Obviously, they can't continue to go 1-5 in every 6 games, but they're at a point where they play the baseball that they were playing. They make sure if they get healthy, they need Slayton and Martin back or add to this bullpen even before they get healthy. That they get their bullpen set and figured out, and they're healthy, and the starting pitching doesn't crap the bed. They will be a playoff team, and that should be noted. Stay
Yeah.
healthy as possible. Get your guys back as quick as possible at 100%. Key at 100%, and they should be a playoff team.
Yeah. Valid. Alrighty, stat of the week. You want to go first? Or should I go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So basically, Baseball Savant has this new thing called bat tracking this year, and so they're basically track bat speed and a whole bunch of other things such as fast swing rate. So that's the percentage of swings that are greater or equal to 75 miles per hour in terms of bat speed, and it measures a lot of different things, right? So I figured we'd start with this. Guess who has? I'll ask you. Who do you think has the fastest average bat speed on their swings in miles per hour?
Uh,
Basically, who
Freeman.
swings the hardest on average
Freeman.
for the Red Sox?
Red Sox. Raffy.
Nope. Rafael Devers is fifth. Although Garrett Cooper's fourth, so it doesn't say much. This is hitters with over 100 total swings.
100 total swings. Okay. Is it gonna be Willier?
Willier is second at
Oh
74.5 miles per hour average.
no way! It's Duran.
No, Duran is seventh,
Wong.
72.9. No, Wong is ninth, 72.1.
Yeah, he doesn't really swing that far. Dom Smith.
No, Dom
No,
Smith
no, no,
is
no, no,
15.
no. That is go.
Dom Smith's 15, 69.1.
Nice. I'll give one more guess.
Come on, this is obvious, dude. Who hits nukes?
O'Neal.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Once I said Devers was fifth, that threw me off. If you said Devers was second, I would have probably said O'Neal.
So O'Neal's 75.3 miles per hour on average. In over half of his swings, 51.2% of his swings are 75 miles per hour or greater. So that's actually kind of funny. They also track swords as well, which is hilarious.
Yep.
So we're not going to get into who's leading the Red Sox in swords. Maybe we'll save it for next week.
Say that for next week, yeah.
The fastest average swing is Giancarlo Stanton at 80.7 miles per hour, and 98% of his swings are 75 miles per hour or more. So basically, he swings out of his shoes every single time. Behind Stanton, the next closest is O'Neal Cruz at 78.3 miles per hour. And then, guess who leads the big leagues in swords?
Who?
Zach Neto at 28. Also, Luis Arias has the slowest swing on average at 62.8 miles per hour, and only 0.2 of his swings of his bat speed. 0.2 of his swings have had a bat speed of 75 miles per hour or greater. So, some fun stuff.
Alrighty, we're wrapping up my stat of the week. Lindor, since he got put in the leadoff spot by the Mets, he's been insane. 307 average. 43 hits, 10 home runs, 28 RBI in 35 games. Just adjustments like that. I mean, the Mets have found a lot of success. Grimace era, but whatever. I think more so when Carlos Mendoza put Lindor back in the leadoff spot, that seemed to unlock something. He was struggling previously, but seems to have found his groove. I think he's carrying the Mets now. He's going to be a big part if the Mets want to make a playoff run, but we know it's the Mets, so something will inevitably go down. And yeah, any final remarks as we wrap up? It's my quick stat of the week.
Sox are buying at the deadline. We're gonna
So,
have
yep, I'm
fun.
with you. Alrighty, for
Don't trade
Derrik,
Alan Castro.
don't trade Alan Castro. Yes. Okay, for Derrik, I'm Jason. Thanks for tuning in, and go Sox.